Me. Oh, yeah.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they...
Recently, a new version of Hitfilm Pro and Express released, Hitfilm version 15 to be exact. And with it they also released a bunch of new features which are pretty cool. A new color corrector, automatic tracking, and also a new auto stabilizer feature. I haven't really tested this one out that much yet. And that's what today is for, because today we're gonna figure out how well this auto stabilizer actually performs. While there was a way to stabilize your footage beforehand, it wasn't really that intuitive. It was more like you track a point and a second point and it stabilizes the rotation and the position on both of those points, and it was more like to get a steady shot when you already were trying to film something steady. Everything else it wasn't really that great for, but that is definitely what the new stabilizer is trying to achieve. And yeah, like I said, today we're gonna just test this one out. Just to test what it can and cannot do, I decided to go with different kind of motions that we're gonna test. We're gonna test the pan, a dolly, a strafe, and just a combination of all of them, where we're just gonna move the camera around and see how well it stabilizes. We're gonna test all of those motions with different stabilizations applied to the camera. Of course, the first one we're gonna try is to test the stabilization without any stabilization pre-applied by the camera. Then we're gonna test how it performs on a shot that's already been stabilized with in-lens stabilization and also in-body stabilization, or electronic stabilization I should say. And then we're gonna test all those shots as well with a gimbal, just to see how well it actually compares and if it can even closely resemble what a gimbal can do. I'm not gonna expect that, but you never know, right? So you gotta try it. And of course we're also gonna just test a normal standard shot, what the auto stabilization was also pretty good at, just to see how that works out. Yeah, I'm really excited. Let's go film something. Okay, it is now one day later. Yesterday I went out, recorded everything, and now I just put everything on my PC. It's right there. I already went over all the clips and sorted them into different folders so I can keep better track of what is what. So here I got my shots on the gimbal, then the gimbal close, then no stabilization close, stabilized and stabilized close. And now I just gotta go through all of them, slap the stabilization on, and hopefully be done with everything soon. But I think what I'm gonna do first is just show you how to actually apply the effect and what it actually does. So I'm currently in the editor timeline. That's the video that I'm currently filming. Ooh, I know, videoception. So the way this effect works is, let me just quickly import something, slap that in the timeline. There it is. Mute the audio. Nice. So if you look at this clip, you can see it's pretty shaky. This is completely handheld, no stabilization applied at all. And now let's go into the effects panel. Auto stabilizer, slap that on the clip, boom. And now it's up here in the effects panel. And now it analyzes the clip. It only takes like, well, it depends on how long the clip is, but it usually only takes a couple of seconds. It's already at 50%. And once it's done, it gives you the settings you can play with. So we got a crop window setting, which lets me decide how far the stabilization actually crops into the clip to, stabilize the footage. And then we get to smoothness. This is going to determine how smooth the shot is going to look at the end. But the higher you put up the smoothness, the more auto-affecting you might get. I'm going to show you the auto-affecting later, but that's just the base settings right here. And as you can see, it already applied automatically a 97.4% crop window, which is only a slight crop, like 2%, 2.5%. And the smoothness is 100%. Let's see how this clip actually looks. And as you can see, it looks pretty stable. Not a whole lot to complain about. You can also just toggle the stabilization on and off if you want, just to see the comparison. This is with the stabilization on, and this is with the stabilization off. You can see that that's a pretty dramatic difference. Yeah, what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take all the clips, slap them in Hitfilm, and just apply the stabilization on the most optimal setting that I can get. I'll try to dial the settings so it gives me the best results with the least artifacting, if you know what I mean. I could technically just crank it all the way up to 11 and it would be super stable, but it will also be super warpy and jello-y, and I'm really trying to avoid that, so I'm just trying to get the most optimal settings I can. So yeah, this is just gonna be a lot of busy work. Okay everyone, I actually stabilized all the footage, everything is sorted out. I can now finally compare all the shots. I know what you think. Is this yet another day? did I just change clothes? No, it is yet another day. That's just the way it's gonna be. Let's maybe just watch the gimbal footage as control. Okay, let's start with the still footage. Yeah, it is pretty stable, as to be expected. You can see some parallax, but that's just the nature of a gimbal. Now, let's look at the pan. Also very smooth, nice rotation, no skipping, no weird shenanigans. Next up is the strafe. I do realize that it's not called a strafe. Actually, strafing is a gaming term, and I'm a gamer, that's why I call it a strafe. But I think the technical terminology is a truck, like a truck motion, I think. Don't quote me on that though. But as you can see, strafing, I'm gonna call it strafe for the rest of the video, just to be consistent, by the way. As you can see, the strafing looks pretty nice. There's no like major hiccups, it just looks like a nice strafe. I have to mention though that I did indeed forget to turn off the image stabilization on my camera while I used the gimbal, so if you see some jumping or little jitters sometimes, that's probably just the stabilization kicking in while it shouldn't, because the gimbal was handling all the stabilization, but you know, that's just what happens when you're dumb, like me. Now let's take a look at the... where is it? At the dolly. And I think in the dolly you can actually see a little bit of jumping, yeah, like right there. That's just, like I said, the stabilization of the camera on the lens not cooperating with the gimbal. That just happens. You usually should turn off all image stabilization in camera and in lens if you use a gimbal. Hey, Simon from the future here. Just wanted to do a quick clarification after the fact. It isn't necessarily true that you should always turn off image stabilization when using a gimbal, because image stabilization can differ quite significantly from lens to lens and from camera to camera. So the best thing to do is really to test out whether or not the image stabilization interferes with the gimbal or not. But if you haven't had the time to test that, I would generally recommend to keep it turned off just to be on the safer side. But yeah, if the stabilization works well with the gimbal, of course you can use it. That's all, yeah, bye. Yeah, that's also looking pretty nice. Now let's take a look at the motion. Also, nothing spectacular there. Looks nice, looks smooth. Little bit of up and down motion. Couldn't control it too much. I also didn't try to be too stable. I just took the gimbal and just went with it. Nothing too bad there. Okay, now let's step into the footage where I didn't use any stabilization at all and no gimbal at all. So this is gonna be a mess, trust me. Let's look at the still footage first. Yeah, already you can tell like this is shaking like crazy. But let's see what the stabilization can do. Let's take a look at this still stabilized. Okay, already you can see that this is way more stable. Like it's almost as stable as the gimbal shot before, but you can see some warping on the corners and the edges a little bit, especially in the beginning where I was shaking like crazy. You can see some. Other than that, this looks pretty fine. Okay, next up is this the pen. No stabilized pen. Oh boy, shaking again. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the motion looks kinda nice. It's still shaking a little bit up and down. I mean, it's definitely not stable, but this is definitely usable to some degree. Now let's see what the auto stabilizer can do with this footage. Okay, what do we get? Oh yeah, this already looks way better. Like the pen, that just looks smooth as smooth as hell, I'm sorry. Yeah, the starting, so smooth. Really nice. No warping whatsoever. I can't see any warping. Like that pan, if you told me this was shot on the gimbal, I would believe you. Honestly, this looks great. Like just right from the beginning. There's a little tiny bit of warping, but once the motion starts, there's like no jitter whatsoever. Really nice result right there. Also the stopping is so smooth and the starting back up, so good. Next up is coming up the strafe. Okay, I gotta say, I'm not good at strafing at all. Just a disclaimer. When I strafe, I shake like a madman. Oh. Oh damn, oh yeah, that's that's horrible. Jesus, who shot that footage? Oh yeah, I'm shaking like crazy. Yeah, that is horrible. Okay, now let's look at the stabilized one. Let's see what it can do with this mess. Probably not too much. Let's see. Oh, Okay, yeah, honestly, that is not too bad. That is not too bad. You can definitely see some warping, especially like in the sky again and with the other building on the other side. There's a lot of warping going on, but compare this like at a side by side to the other one, like the unstabilized one. That is a day and night difference. Honestly, I think this is pretty good. Okay, next up is the dolly motion. That's gonna be a rough run as well. Oh! Oh damn! Oh jeez. That is not good. At all. Oh damn. Backwards is even worse. Oh my god. Okay, I have my doubts that the stabilized version is gonna be really good. Let's see. Here it comes. Oh! Oh damn! What? Is that even the same shot? Holy shit, look at this. Like, that is really freaking solid. Wow! Especially the backwards motion. There's like a little bit of jitter, a little bit of warping here and there. Like, you can sometimes tell that it's post-stabilized. And you can also see some of the steps, you can still see a little bit. But aside from that, that is impressive as f***. I should stop saying f*** a lot, there's so much. That is impressive as hell, not gonna lie. Also, I never cropped in while in the settings more than 10%. So this is usually still 90% resolution or above. So this is like only a minor crop. And this is still so wow. Like especially like from this part on, like this is smooth as hell. This is really good. And now just for good measures, let's slap in the gimbal footage as well. Let's see how that looks. I mean, yeah, the gimbal is still smoother, but this is not too far off. I gotta say, this is not too far off. I'm pretty impressed. And this was also the wide shot, so you should see a lot of warping in the image, but there isn't really that much warping in it. Okay, next up is no stabilization. The motion shot where I just walked around. Okay, already I'm shaking like a madman. This is this is Shake City. Yeah, this is virtually unusable. I wouldn't even use this like in a standard YouTube video. Like this is shaky as heck. Like I have really shaky hands, I gotta admit. Like this is, you should put more effort into recording stable footage than I am, because this is just horrible. Let's swap over to this stabilized footage. Oh, already. This is so much better. There's yet again some warping in the skies. But now that the deep scene is gone and it's just like medium close-ups, this is really good. Wow. Wow, this is honestly really good. Holy sh... Like, aside from the little bit of warping in the sky, this is really nice. And to be fair, like, this is not an easy scene. There's a lot of objects going on. The depth is pretty big sometimes. Stuff is distracting. There's like parallax in the scene, and wow, this is really good. Okay, I'm gonna slap in the gimbal footage as well, just to have a comparison. Yeah, I mean, the gimbal is definitely smoother. Like, you can just tell that this is really well stabilized. But honestly, the post stabilization with the auto stabilizer is doing a really good job with this. I'm seriously impressed. Let's move over to the close-ups. I think the close-ups are gonna be much more shaky. Okay, this is now... Oh yeah, this is pretty shaky as well. Yeah. I mean, this is... You could use this, but it looks pretty bad. Let's see what the stabilizer can do. Yeah, this is really nice. This is really stable. There's like some, like a little bit of jittering, slightly a little bit of warping in the edges, but aside from that, this is very stable. Okay, let's go over to the pan. Yeah, shaking again. A little bit closer, but still shaking. To be fair, I think I got better over time doing this. The first shot was really shaky. This one is already a little bit better, but still very shaky. Let's see what the auto stabilizer does. Oh wow! There's no shaking at all. Wow! Not even warping. This is completely stable. No warping whatsoever. This is nice. This is very good. This is also very good. A really nice result. Okay, next up is the strafe. Yes, some ghosting. Some warping. Wow, this is also very good. There's like you sometimes see the steps still, but aside from that, this is seriously good. Yeah, this is very stable. And this shot in particular is pretty difficult because you have like this object right in the front that it has to ignore while tracking, and it's doing a really good job. Like it doesn't even care, it's just ignoring completely. I'm honestly impressed. I expected this to be good, but not this good. Like this is sometimes gimbal quality. Like especially this shot, like the strafe that we just had. It's not quite there, but it is really close. And there's also minimal warping, so this is honestly really good. Really good as well. Man, so far I have very little to complain, like, especially if you look at the footage that I shot. It honestly is terrible. Like, I'm seriously surprised that I'm that bad at just filming. The dolly, yeah, let's go with the dolly. Oh, man. I think this is the worst one yet. Yeah. This has to be the worst one. This is a night and day difference. This is really stable. Wow, this is really good. Okay. This is really nice. There's like sometimes you see the steps at the beginning especially. But aside from that, this is really smooth. The motion one. The full motion one. Okay, let's see the full motion. Yeah. Yeah, I see. You'd think I would be walking on glass. Like on glass shards. That's how much I'm shaking. Man, I am impressed. Okay, let's look for the stabilized ones. Let's go with the still one. This should be very stable right from the get-go. Yeah. Lens stabilization and in-body electronic stabilization. They're kind of designed for stabilizing still shots. They're mostly designed for photography, so that's why. If you start or stop a motion, like when you accelerate and decelerate, that's usually when stabilizers tend to fail the most. Now let's see the pan. The pan is where we should see a lot of jumping in the stock footage. This was alright. Because like I said, usually when you accelerate a decelerate a motion, that's when it struggles the most. Yeah, this was jumping quite a lot. Okay, acceleration 2 was like a little bit steppy. Oh yeah, this one especially. Yeah, this is pretty steppy. Like I said, like in the middle of the motion, like when it's just moving by, it looks really nice, really stable. But as soon as you accelerate or decelerate, that's when it really starts to jump and jitter because the stabilizer doesn't really know what it should do, like stabilize the motion or stabilize it was still. Let's see if the Hitfilm stabilizer can actually fix that. Okay, nice. Very smooth, very stable. Let's see the window. Wow, yeah, oh my god. This is so much more smooth. Holy shit, oh my god, you don't see any of it. It even stabilized the jumping. Oh, this one too, it's so smooth. Oh my god. I think the stabilizer from Hitfilm actually fixed the jumping that the in-body and lens stabilization did. Like if you compare it side by side, there's no jumping at all anymore. And as you can see before, it was kind of like jittering and stopping sometimes, but this is like really nice. Oh my god, the more I watch, the more impressed I am. Let's look at the full motion. Yeah, the beginning a little bit warpy. But then, oh nice. I feel like the stabilizing algorithm is really good on panning. Panning looks really smooth all the time, which is nice. So, conclusion time. What do I think of the automatic stabilizer in general? Can it replace a gimbal? I think the answer is clearly no. Especially when you have shaky hands like me, The results can be hit and miss. For the most part, this was doing really nice. The scenery was also pretty busy, so I can imagine that the stabilizer had a hard time analyzing everything. But for the most part, the footage was pretty nice. I wouldn't trust it all the time. I would only use it if you have to, but definitely be sure to put a lot of effort into stabilizing your camera while shooting. Make it heavier, use maybe a grip or something, like a top handle or anything like that. But other than that, like, I'm really impressed. I haven't used warp stabilizer from Premiere before, but I can imagine it being a lot better. Like, for a first generation stabilizer, like this is the first version of the stabilizer they put out there, I think this is honestly really good. Like, some of the shots, you'd be hard pressed to see a difference between a gimbal and this one. Like, this is honestly impressive stuff. And I think I definitely said the word impressive a little bit too much this video. Excuse me for that. Let me know what you think of the footage in the comments. Are you as impressed as I am, or do you think the footage looks too fake, too jumpy, too warpy and stuff? And also, if you want to see more content like this in the future, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, check out my Instagram account, it's linked in the end card. And other than that, I guess I'll see you around. Bye!